NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Mitchell Renz coming at you here with today's video, and we're going to be breaking down some potential cut candidates in the AFC. Now, what I try to do is go division by division here and break down all the players, how much you can potentially save. If you see your favorite team and you don't agree with my pick, guess what you can do? Let me know in the comments section. All right, let's first start off here with the AFC East, and we're going to talk about the Buffalo Bills and the player that they could potentially move on from this upcoming year. I think it could be potentially Quinton Jefferson. So in 2021, he is scheduled to make $8 million. If the Bills decide to move on from him, they can save exactly $8 million. Now, Jefferson played in 534 snaps in 2020, and the Bills were definitely a tougher team for me to be able to rack my mind around and see who they could potentially move on from. But if you're telling me right now, is paying a guy $8 million, coming off a year where he had 23 tackles, sure, he had 3 sacks. However, Buffalo still needs to be able to improve on the defensive line, and if you can invest that money in some other talented players in the National Football League, that's somewhere I think you could potentially go. I get it. He's 27 years old, but $8 million, no dead cap. That's why we ended up going with Quinton Jefferson. Let's now go to the New England Patriots here. Who's the player we thought of? Marcus Cannon. Scheduled to make $9.62 million this upcoming season. If cut, it saves New England $7 million essentially. Sure, the dead cap hit is 2.57, which you can see on screen, but he's about to turn 33 years old, and he didn't play in 2020 after opting out. Are you fully confident in paying somebody who's about to turn 33 years old, who sat out this entire past season, to actually go out and pay them $9.62 million? I get it. Offensive line is still a need for this team. However, if I'm New England, I'm going to try to figure out a way, hey, how can I save a little bit extra money, move on from Cannon, and if I can give that money to somebody like Joe Thuney, who's never missed a start in 5 years, that's something I'm absolutely going to do, especially because Thuney, he's a little bit younger. Let's now go to the Miami Dolphins here. We're going to talk about Albert Wilson, who, just like Cannon, decided to opt out in 2020. So for the Dolphins, the cap hit here is $5.18 million. If cut, you save $2.85, but the dead cap, that's $2.33. However, when you look at Miami, they don't really have a lot of these higher-priced players where you can try to save a lot of money. So it was kind of a difficult decision. But I do know one thing. Miami wants to find some younger wide receivers. They can go out and do it in the draft. They can do it early on if they want. They can do it in free agency. They have a lot of different avenues here. Now, Wilson, he's a solid slot receiver. But I'm telling you right now, if they want to go out and get a Jamar Chase, if they want to go out and get a Devonta Smith, if they want to go out and get Jalen Waddle or some of these other amazingly talented receivers in the draft, just move on from Albert Wilson, save the money. All right, let's now head on now to the last team here in the AFC East. It's the New York Jets, and I'll tell you what, I would love some Jamison, and I would love some Crowder here on this nice little cold day in Dallas, Texas. 2021 cap hit, $11.38 million. If cut, it saves the Jets over $10 million. Now, if you want to be able to build around some of your younger players, do I think Sam Darnold's going to come back? No, I definitely don't think so. Could they draft a young quarterback in Zach Wilson? Yes, they absolutely could. But there's a lot of other talented receivers out there in free agency that I would rather give $10 million to than Jamison Crowder. Battled several different injuries last season, played in only 12 games, and ended up finishing the year with 699 yards and 6 touchdowns. So this is going to be the pinned comment on today's video. What I want you all to do is this. While you're getting hit with that YouTube ad break, because you're going to get hit with one, I want you to shout out your favorite team, and I want you to comment below who you think they should cut. If your favorite team's in the NFC, well, guess what? We'll be making an NFC video here shortly. But let me know in the comments. Shout out your favorite team, and let me know who you think they should end up cutting. Let's head on now to the AFC North. Let's go to Geno Atkins, where dude's going to get paid if he remains in Cincinnati, $14.7 million. But if you're the Bengals, you can save $9.5. I'll put this like this. Geno Atkins is still a good football player. If you're looking down at the numbers, you're like, wait a minute. This guy played in 8 games, only had 1 tackle, and 1 QB hit. You're sitting here telling me he's a good player? He is. The Bengals didn't use him or really any of these older players for whatever reason. They let go of Carlos Dunlap. He went on to have a pretty good year with the Seattle Seahawks. Then you have Geno Atkins here. Same exact thing. He's a good, young defensive player. But if you're Cincinnati, the way that your mind should be is like this. Do I save this money and eat some of it with Geno to maybe try to figure out a way to bring back Carl Lawson, who's also going to be a free agent? Yes, that's the reason why we ended up putting Geno Atkins here for the Cincinnati Bengals in terms of their cut candidate. All right, the next team here coming up here on the AFC North is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. The player I got here, it's Joe Haden. Haden is still a good player. But let's get one thing straight. When you're a cut candidate, you're trying to figure out ways how to save a few extra $1 million, and that's what you're going to do here with Haden. Now, you can save $7 million. You're also going to eat 8.58, but for a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, this was definitely one of the more tougher teams to be able to wrap my mind around. You could also look at a guy like McDonald's retirement, which saves $5.2 million, but again, 52 tackles, 2 picks, 12 PBUs. He's just not worth $15.58 million. I'm sorry. That's just simply where we are right now in this division. It's just simply where we are right now with this Pittsburgh Steelers football team. It's personally the move that I would do, but I can understand eating that much dead cap. It does definitely hurt. But Haden at 31 years old, I just think that's ultimately where they're going to go. All right, the next team coming up here, it is the Cleveland Browns, and the best hairdo on this video. Shout out to Sheldon Richardson. So he's scheduled to make $13.17 million. If cut, it saves the Cleveland Browns $11.5 million. Yeah, you still got to pay that $1.67 million in cap. Good player, but that's a lot of money that you can save. And if you're the Browns and you want to be able to upgrade at the defensive tackle position, there's a lot of really other good DTs out there. I mean, would you rather save that money and invest it towards a guy like Leonard Williams? Maybe a guy like Dalvin Tomlinson. Heck, J.J. Watt just became available. No disrespect to Sheldon Richardson. He's not any of those players. 64 tackles last year, 4.5 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. But the end of the day, he's 30 years old. You can save over $11 million. That's why he ended up making the list here from the AFC North and, well, for the Cleveland Browns. So we're always keeping you guys updated here on the latest news and rumors. But if you haven't subscribed to Chat Sports yet, please do. It helps us out a ton. We're never going to be a channel that demands money. That's not what we do. We are a free, interactive YouTube channel. So all we ever ask you to do is interact with us, talk with us, go down, like the videos, and hit the big red button that says subscribe. We usually go live every single Monday and Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific, but we're located in Dallas, Texas. I'm actually the only guy that was able to make it into work today. I huffed my way in, and it's like minus 20 degrees here, which, for people in Dallas, that's like minus 80 degrees Fahrenheit. All I'm saying is we're always trying to keep you guys updated, so once in a while, if you could, like the video, and if you haven't already, seriously, hit the big red button that says subscribe, and to the people who are already subbed, I want you to take that link that y'all see below, youtube.com/chatsportstv, and start sending it to some friends. Send it to some people that you would also think would love to be able to join our shows here at Chat Sports. I know I personally would definitely appreciate it. If you don't like any of the players that you see on these lists, you can also yell at me. This is my IG and my Twitter. All right, let's go to the Baltimore Ravens here now. They can move on from Brandon Williams, where it's a lot of money to be paying a guy who, sorry, he's just not quite what he used to be. Was he once a great player for this Baltimore Ravens team? Yes. Is he still a good player? Absolutely. Now, when we thought about making this video, Mark Ingram was actually still on the Baltimore Ravens, and I would have said that would have been the dude that I would have moved on from. So instead, you're looking at Baltimore, who does such a good job every single year, I think, in free agency, or they do such a good job in the draft. It was hard to be able to find a cut candidate for them. That's why we came up with Brandon Williams. We're like, okay, you can save $7.5 million, and you're trying to go younger. Maybe you're trying to get an extra wide receiver around Lamar Jackson. That was the ultimate reason why we decided to move on from Brandon Williams here and the overall thought process. So after the AFC North, we still got 2 more divisions to go, and it does start to get a little bit more tricky here with some of these other football teams. Let's now navigate over to the AFC West. I'm going to start with the Los Angeles Chargers, and out of all the teams so far that I've gone through, I'll be honest with y'all, I think this one with Mike Williams might have been the easiest for me. He has never lived up to the draft pick of number 7 overall. We can all agree on that, right? I'm not saying it's 100% his fault. He has dealt with numerous, and I mean injury after injury. But how many people here, honestly, would look at me and say, yes, I would pay Mike Williams $15.68 million in 2021. And if you cut him, you save his entire contract of $15.68 million. Now, Is he the number 2 receiver behind Keenan Allen? Yes. Do you want to continue to keep talent around Justin Herbert, your young quarterback? Yes, absolutely. But I can't wrap my mind around the idea of honestly paying that guy that much money. So be honest with me here. What do you do with Mike Williams? Do you keep him? Should they extend him? Should they cut him? So the reason why you're seeing E for extend is he's going to be on his 5th-year option. If the Chargers want to bring him back, you could extend him. Or they could go the whole route like the Titans did last year with Corey Davis. They said, no, we're going to turn down your 5th-year option. If you were the Chargers, what would you do? Type K for keep, E for extend, or C for cut. Let's go to the Kansas City Chiefs here. Eric Fisher, scheduled to make $15.15 million. If cut, it saves Kansas City $11.97, and, well, you got to eat $3.18. The reason why he's really on my list here is this. Battled some injuries in 2020. He's battled some injuries in the past as well. Missed the Super Bowl with a torn Achilles. I can't honestly promise you that he's going to be able to come back and be a significant part on this team. But if there's one thing that I do know, the Kansas City Chiefs, they need to have a lot more depth, and they need to have a lot more consistency at the offensive tackle position. I mean, that's something that we definitely saw in the Super Bowl. But for a 29-year-old, which, sure, it's not very old in terms of National Football League, but coming off a torn Achilles, who's battled injuries in the past, if the Chiefs want to really be able to move on from him, now might be your chance to ultimately really be able to do it. So we're going to go from one offensive tackle to another. At the Las Vegas Raiders, we have them moving on from Trent Brown. You can save $14 million from moving on from Brown. I mean, this guy is out of shape. Reports of him being over 400 pounds. The Raiders have been shopping him. Brown doesn't want to even be on the team. He's never shown that he's wanted to be on the team. Played in only 262 snaps this year. He made $21 million this past year. They basically paid him $76,241 per snap. That's just way too much money. And for a Raiders team, you got a young unit. You don't want this guy who's an absolute cancer in your locker room working with some of these younger players. You're trying to be different. You're trying to move on. You absolutely need to get rid of Trent Brown. So take a guess here. Who will be the best player that ends up getting cut, right? I mean, it's kind of a tough question, but every single year you get one of those dudes, you're like, wow, I can't believe the team moved on from him. So what I want you to do, go down in the comments section and let us know who's going to be the best player in the National Football League that ends on getting cut. It's time now to go to the Denver Broncos here, where Jurrell Casey, scheduled to make $11.87 million. If you cut him, you save $11.87. It's a pretty easy choice, especially since the Broncos already decided to move on from A.J. Boye, which definitely was a smart decision there. If you were to ask me a month ago before I made this video, who are the top 2 players that the Broncos could move on from, I would have said A.J. Boye, and I would have said Jurrell Casey, who had only 14 tackles last year, didn't have any sacks, did not live up to the hype this year, and needed to step up. Why? As soon as Von Miller went down, Denver needed to be able to figure out ways to get more pressure, especially on the edge. And Casey just simply couldn't do it. So I'm going to hit you all with a question here on today's show. It's around Jurrell Casey. So type your votes down below. Should the Broncos cut him? Type Y for yes, type N for no. And remember how I said I'm the only guy in the studio here. Actually, shout out to producer Sam. He is producing this video from his comfort of his own home, and him and I have been communicating via cell phone. So, Sam, should the Broncos cut Jurrell Casey?
Yes.
Hopefully you guys can hear him. He's saying yes, and we agree with that. But, hey, let us know down in the comments section below. I want you to type Y for yes, or I want you to scroll on down and type N for no. The last division here, let's get to the AFC South. We're kicking it off with the Tennessee Titans. Adam Humphries, you're first up here on my list, where scheduled to make $9.7 million. If cut, it saves the Tennessee Titans $4.75, and sure, you got to eat $5 million. Humphries had a good year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in 2019, but I put out this, we'll say, service warning where I was like, a lot of Humphries' numbers I thought came in garbage time, and not that he didn't have a good year. He did. He was productive in that Tampa Bay offense. But he did not fit what Tennessee wanted to do. Tennessee is a tough, run-the-ball-down-your-throat football team. And for Humphrey, not that he's not a good blocker, it's just not how he was ended up built. So for him, he's 27 years old. Let him go somewhere else. Let him get out of there. And if you want to be able to invest some money, you can invest it a lot better ways in some other wide receivers. I mean, If I'm Tennessee, I figure out a way to re-sign Corey Davis before I try to bring back Adam Humphries. But that's just between you and me. Let's now go to the Houston Texans, who just have all sorts of problems here. Deshaun Watson. No, I'm kidding. It's Duke Johnson. So you can save $5 million. I'm never a team pay a running back, and I'm especially not pay a backup third down running back over $5 million. Is he a good pass catcher? Yes, absolutely. He's been a great pass catcher since he came out of Miami, since he started his first 4 years with the Cleveland Browns. I believe he's the only running back in NFL history to start off his first 4 years with 50 catches. He's just not that running back anymore. Plus, that Houston team, they need to be able to save up as much money as they possibly can to try to invest in the future. No disrespect to Duke Johnson. He's just simply not the future for the Houston Texans here. So we went through the Titans. We went through the Texans. We still got 2 more teams. But if you guys want more free videos every single day around the National Football League, hit the big red button that says subscribe, y'all. I mean, again, we are a company based on trying to give you guys as much content as humanly possible, trying to give you a new video every single 3 hours around the NFL. Maybe it's around the NBA, but if you want to join us for our live shows as well, we normally go live every single Monday and Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. Let's go to the Jacksonville Jaguars here. The Jaguars can cut AJ. It's a horrible joke, but I'm going to make it anyway. 2021, scheduled to make $6.29 million. If you cut him, you save $4.96. Kind of just like I talked about with the Miami Dolphins, this is another team that was not really easy to move on from players because they just weren't really paying a lot of guys a lot of money. Now, let's say you want to be able to move on. Maybe there's another tackle or another guard, if you will, in free agency. And the Jags, they want to be able to pay a lot of money to go up and get a guy, maybe like a Brandon Scherf or a guy like Joe Thuney, probably the top 2 guards in the free agent market, so you can go ahead and protect a guy like Trevor Lawrence. That's why I move on from Can. No disrespect from him. He played in 919 snaps, but if I can go out and get Thuney, I can go out and get a guy like Scherf. That's the way I think of it. The last player that we're going to talk about in today's Cut Candidates video out of the AFC, it's Jack Doyle. And this one breaks my heart a little bit. I've had Jack Doyle in a few fantasy football leagues in the past, and his nickname, at least what we always used to call him, was Baby Hands Doyle because dude has really small hands. But in 2021, he's scheduled to make $5.85 million. The Colts can save $4.35 million, and if they're looking really to be able to go out and find a top quarterback, maybe you're trying to save as much money as you humanly possibly can. So instead of paying Doyle that money, you just try to invest it into the quarterback position. And no disrespect to him, maybe it was the fit with Phillip Rivers. However, I doubt that. Rivers has always done a very good job of getting his tight ends involved. Their offense changed. Doyle's not really much of a blocker. He's more of a pass catcher. This offense is more geared to be able to run the football, and he just simply looked a little bit washed up at age 30. So that's the route I would go if I was the Indianapolis Colts. As a reminder, if you disagree with any of the players that I listed, or if your favorite team is in the NFC, let us know. Go ahead and like the video. That way we know that you enjoyed this video, and we go ahead and make our NFC Cut Candidate video.